I don't know what it was about last year, but everything that could go wrong in the house went wrong in the house. First it was the heater, then it was the liner that started to fade, then it was the air conditioner. Everything around the house needed a whole lot of maintenance time and sucked out all the money out of the bank account. I gotta tell you, in a house that is about 20 years old, I kind of expect things like this to pop up, but it's really frustrating when it becomes more and more of a maintenance nightmare on a house that then has you evaluating whether or not you need to have the size of house that you have. Because let's face it, my husband and I and the one kid that's left at home, we're constantly living in a couple of rooms. It's the family room, it's the kitchen, and the bedroom. And we are endlessly maintaining and cleaning and beautifying spaces that we do not even spend any time in anymore. I know as the holidays ended, I put the holiday and seasonal stuff away, and I gotta tell you, I'm getting more and more tired of going back to clean the crawl space again, clean the cold cellar again, reorganize, purge, and I'm just asking myself how much longer we need a house this big, and we need to maintain rooms that we are never going to use. And that leads me to why we're shooting this video today, because I know many of you are in that same situation right now, and the emotional part of moving is holding you back. So what do I mean by that? I mean, many of us are in our homes, we're quite comfortable, and we know that we're going to be downsizing down the road, but we're not ready to rip the Band-Aid off just yet or start the process, which can be very emotional, of downsizing our current home. Whether that's because you've had so many fond memories here, or you just love your home, or you've renovated to your taste, and you just don't want to deal with the realities of whether it's your health situation or your health is deteriorating, or you've got to buckle down on finances and you just want to push off and postpone the reality and not have to look for a solution because you love where you are and you just don't want to open Pandora's box to that big, ugly move that takes a lot of work, especially if you've been in your home for a long time. But today we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of downsizing. And I have to tell you, there are many pros and there are some cons that sometimes people don't think about or skip through. So we're going to talk about here today so that we can lay it all on the line. And I would ask you, if you're watching this video, do me a favor. If you've got some good advice for downsizers, something that you did that worked especially well for you and your family, or you and your partner, I would love to hear it in the comments. If we can help people transition with ease, we are up for more suggestions than not. So please join this community and part of this conversation. We'd love to hear from you. So let's talk about the first thing. And the first thing is, and this is not going to apply to me because I don't rush into things. I like to take my time. I'm list oriented, and I like to double check before I go ahead and do most things in life, especially making that dreadful move. Or even if that move means something I'm so looking forward to, I'm always evaluating and reevaluating, making lists. So the first thing is, I don't recommend rushing the timeline, but on the other side of that, I also don't recommend staying in place until something happens that's catastrophic, that forces your hand for a move. So I'm a planner. I think having a list of things that need to be done and organized and dealt with well in advance is the best way to succeed. So if you don't have a list and you're thinking that a downsize might be in your future, I would say grabbing some pen and paper and making a good old-fashioned list to start with. Your timeline makes the most sense, because once you have an idea of when you'd like to make your move, you can then have this beautiful plan that you can tuck away in a filing cabinet. And if things change with your health or with your finances or your family situation or your children's situation that it impacts your move, you can certainly take out that list and actually look at the plan and just go, all right, let's get to it. We're going to accelerate and put this plan into motion. But if you don't have a plan, then you've got nothing to take out. You don't have a roadmap, and it's going to feel very pressure-filled and stressful. So the most important thing is to be realistic about the timeline. Downsizing is a major lifestyle change and should be approached with care and with a plan. I work with hundreds of clients, and I have to tell you, sometimes we meet clients who must sell right away because of health reasons, and sometimes we have clients that come to us with a plan that just needs some shape to it and care and needs a bow to be put around to it so they can actually get into execution. And they just need to know where to start, where to go, and where the end goal is so that they have something to work towards. So must have a plan. Some of you watching this may think, what do I know about downsizing? Like, I may not be of an age, or you might not think that I'm someone who's going to be downsizing in the future, but I have to tell you, it is high on my mind now that the kids have left for university and the home has gotten certainly quieter and less used, and the prospects of my kids coming home after university are looking looking pretty weak now that the kids are exploring their opportunities in their professional careers. So I have to tell you, that's one thing I can relate on a wholesome level, and I have helped hundreds of clients, seniors specifically, to downsize their homes for reasons of mobility or health or the loss of a spouse, which is difficult to navigate, or simply people who just have way too much house and are looking to simplify their homes. So whatever the reason is that you could possibly think of and more, I've probably covered it in my career. And the one thing that I see at the very beginning that is completely overlooked is the emotional impact of a move. And perhaps you are the child of a senior, your parents are contemplating a move. I have to tell you, the most important thing we can do is give seniors space, downsizers space, to actually lean into the emotional part of the move, because it is quite heavy, and we want to make sure that we are ready to make this decision emotionally before we start getting to the tasks, because we want to feel supported. We want to make sure that we have all of the people that we're going to need at our disposal to lean on, to support us from the very beginning through to the end. Otherwise, what can happen is a complete emotional collapse. Somebody says, I'm ready to go, I have to go, whether it's financially and emotionally or physically, they can't maneuver or manage the house. And then they hit a wall, they have a major meltdown, there's a lot of sadness, and they feel completely unsupported. So those are not our clients, but I have seen that happen many times where I have to throw someone a lifeline and step in and help their clients to actually get through and succeed with as little stress as possible. So that's the other thing. This can be a very highly stressful process. It can be emotional and it can be stressful, but with the right tools in place, which I'm going to cover in a little bit, this can be as stress-free as physically possible, especially when you're working with a team of professionals who do this all the time and have all of the support services to make this process smooth and organized so that you don't have to pull your hair out. Downsizing is a major life adjustment and needs to be done with organization, with care, and we don't want to rush the process for the reasons I said before. You need to feel emotionally supported. You need to be emotionally supported. Plus, you need people and resources there at your hands so that you actually have physical help throughout the move, because moving can be very physically tiring. My folks were thinking about downsizing for a few years before they actually had to downsize. And I'm going to tell you, they're not unlike many of my clients. So they were in their home. It was getting a little bit too much to manage. I was getting super nervous watching my mom go up and down the stairs of her 2-story home. And we talked about possibly downsizing to a bungalow or to a condo, and my mom just was not having it. She did not want to go through the process. They knew what it was like. They'd moved 10 years before, and she just did not want to leave her beautiful garden, her friends, and all of the amenities that surrounded her, because life was easy, it was comfortable, and they were very happy in their home. But I have to tell you, we did not have a really good plan. I'm going to overshare here. We just let them make their decision as their children, and we supported them. We wanted my mom and dad to have their own voice. Unfortunately for my mom, she did not get to make the move on her own timelines. She fell and she managed to break her collarbone, her shoulder, and her hip, and it was a complete disaster. It was a really sad situation. She had to go to a rehab center and unfortunately could never physically return home because she was not well enough. She had other ailments, and it just was not a reality to bring her back home to contend with stairs. There was no main floor shower. So at some point we were going to have to get her up and down, and there just wasn't an easy or practical way to install a chairlift. So the reality for my mom and dad was they had to move, and they had to move quickly. Now, seeing that about 15 years ago, probably almost closer to 20 years ago, I'm going to tell you that really inspired me to take care of seniors at a really high level, because I could see that there was a huge gap in the market where there was not support for seniors. There were not a lot of seniors services. There were not a lot of real estate professionals who are experienced at helping seniors and their families navigate that with ease. So I got to tell you, went through that, inspired me to create a business that is going to cater to the needs of seniors and their families to make sure people get amazing care, amazing services, and that the process does not feel rushed, uncomfortable, unpleasant, or that we are not just taking someone who's fallen and had an accident and just putting them anywhere because we're rushing to find them a place. We want to have a plan while you are well and healthy and able to have a voice of your own, so that can translate into either accelerating that plan if your circumstances change, or we're going to get ahead of the ball and make the move, sort of like I'm contemplating in my own life right now, to just minimize the house and create opportunities for other things like traveling, doing more fun things on Saturdays instead of choring with your family or with your spouse, or doing something with the extra cash that you're going to find when you are not maintaining the home or the roof or the mechanics, etc. So there's a lot of benefits to the move if you're ready for it. I'm not a fan of downsizing out of panic. Let me be clear, I'm also not a person who loves to downsize based on what the market sentiment's out there. Meaning, if the market is super hot, doesn't mean we got to sell our house and cash out, because the reality is, if you're going to sell high, you're probably going to buy high, and that is something that's not necessarily going to give you a great financial reward or benefit. So I would say to you, why rush into a crazy market that's frenzied? Ask yourself about what is the priority. And I would say circumstance and timing for you that works for you is more important than what is going on in the real estate market. And I say that as a professional because I've gone through hot markets, I've gone through slow markets, and I've taken care of clients in the best, and I'm going to say a balanced market is the best time to make that downsize happen. And there's a win whether you're selling in a hot market, and there's an even better win when you're buying in a balanced market. And the win is simply that it is not stressful, it is not chaotic, and not as frenzied, and you have time to look around at options for yourself in a balanced market, which we happen to be in right now. While we're talking about the market, I think it's really important to point out that getting an evaluation of your home and not overestimating the value of your current home is really important to get you financially prepared. And what I mean by that is simply to say that we can all look backwards on the last few years and assess the pricing of our home based on some of the sold data that we saw 10 doors down. Maybe Susie sold her home, maybe John and Sarah sold their home, and we have an idea of what it was worth a few years ago. But the biggest mistake you can do is look backwards when analyzing what your home is worth. So I would say it's so important to get an idea of what your home is worth in today's market. And I have to tell you that if I were to get my home evaluated right now, I don't think I'd be super excited. I don't think I'd be happy with the numbers, but at least I'd have a real sense of what is going on today. And knowing what my house is worth today means I can also make plans or look forward to what is on the other side of my downsize. So that would help me determine what community I'm going to move to, how much house I can afford to buy, and it can also allow me to figure out whether a condo is appropriate for me or a detached home, and the maintenance requirements of both of those are so different, because in a condo, all the maintenance is usually taken care of by the condo corporation, except for what's inside your unit. But in a home, there are things like, am I going to continue to shovel? Am I going to continue to take care of a roof, etc.? Or am I going into a condo townhouse type thing? But without knowing what my home is worth now, I don't really have a sense of what I can do or how much money I'm going to put away in the bank. So first things first, you want to be able to get a current evaluation of your home so that you have a true sense of where you sit financially. And the most important thing I can say right now is, with a market that is fluctuating and changing and not perfectly stable, I'm going to say, it is so important that this is something that is current and up to date. And I would say within the last 30 or 45 days of you trying to execute your plan. So if you're trying to evaluate your home today for this potential sale in 5 years, that's not a bad thing. But again, you're going to file that away, and we're not going to rely on that 5 years from now. Or on the other side of this, if you had an evaluation 2 years ago, it's probably fairly meaningless right now. It might be a paperweight because things have changed so dramatically. So please just get an evaluation of your home from a trusted resource that can give you honest advice and not give you an idea what it could potentially sell for at the height of the market, but what it could sell for today if exposed to the market in its current state. I'm going to tell you a little secret here in the industry. It's a dirty little secret, but sometimes when realtors come in to compete for a listing, sometimes somebody will come with the best and highest number and give you an evaluation that cannot be supported just to win your business. And I would say you might have to rewind this and let that sink in. So there are realtors who will come in and give you a high price that cannot be defended just because they know you want to hear that high price. And you might say, amazing, we're going to hire this person because he thinks he can get us the highest and best price possible. But I'm telling you, it is a bit of a kink in this industry, and you don't necessarily want to hire the person who gives you the highest and best price possible, because it's quite likely that in a month after taking your listing, they are going to come to you, or 2 weeks later, and ask for a price adjustment down, because guess what? Their unrealistic, unsupported price cannot be defended by the market, or buyers are just not biting, which just means your home is going to sit on the market for much longer. This process of downsizing and the process of exposing your home to the market is going to be uncomfortable. You're going to leave for more showings. And at the end of the week, when you keep going back in and out for all these showings, you're going to come back and you're going to be expecting to ask your agent, and I know I would, say, is there any interest? Is there any interest? Do we have any offers yet? And it's not going to happen, because this is not the time to overprice your home. This is not the market where people will negotiate $100,000 less to come and make an offer for your home. So you want to be priced right, and you want to make sure that when somebody gives you a price range for your home, that they can back it up with current market analysis. True story. I saw a market evaluation that somebody had given one of my clients very recently, and can you believe that the comparables that they used were a year and 2 and 3 years old? there was a comparable in this list of comparables that they gave. So they gave the client a range. Let's say for easy math, they said your home is worth $1.5 million, and I think that the house is worth 1.35. And in the 1.5 range, the comparables were 5 years old. What are we talking about? 5 years ago, if I had to go back into the system to see what was selling on my street 5 years ago, I would be crying. I would be crying, or at the height of the market. So that's not how it works. We want to look at prices that are in the last 30 days, in the last 60 days, and in the last 90 days. And they have to be good and comparable. So in this evaluation scenario that my client showed me, somebody was comparing their home to that of a 3,500 to 4,000 square foot home. And my client's home is only 2,300 square feet. So you could see where that just, the math does not math. We can't compare 2,300 square foot homes to 4,000 square foot homes in the same neighborhood. And we cannot compare homes today to homes that sold 5 years ago. So please, when you're out there evaluating your home or getting an evaluation from a professional realtor, make sure that you understand the information being presented to you, and feel free to challenge it and ask for clarification and see if that person in front of you can defend it. But big caution, I pump the brakes and say, please be careful. Sometimes the highest price is right. Often it is a ploy to be able to get your business when people are competing. And it's not something I would do. I would much prefer to walk out the door and have given you honest advice and been respectful and earn your respect, although you might not agree with my price, but be able to stand behind it and sleep at night, because I spend a lot of money to market clients' homes, and I'm not interested in taking a home that is overpriced and a seller is unrealistic. It does not serve you well, it does not serve us well, and in the end, if I'm not going to be able to get the job done that in a time frame that's reasonable and makes sense for someone downsizing, I'd rather not take your business. So again, I'm leaving you with that tip. Don't forget it. All right, so now you've got your evaluation, or perhaps you've got a few evaluations. You have a baseline of what you think your home is worth, and now you can certainly plan and think about where you're going to go next. A lot of mistakes I see seniors or downsizers make is they pick where they want to go first without having a sense of what their home is worth or what the market is doing and the realities of it, and then they get their heart set on where they want to go, but they just can't get to that next step. And this is a place where a lot of downsizers really get stuck. So imagine you identify the home of your dreams, it's your final home, but the numbers just don't work and the numbers don't sort of come together to be able to make that happen. What I would say is, more importantly, is to get a conservative number. So get the number from the real estate professional. Let's be conservative. Let's shave some off of that. I am a conservative girl by default. I don't want to work with these really ambitious and aggressive numbers. I want to work with something that's conservative when I'm writing my plan, so that if my realtor gets me an amazing price, I'm delighted and I've got extra room to play. But I don't want to, when I'm considering a downsize, assume that my house is going to sell for the highest and best price possible ever, and set a record, and then I'm going to be able to go to that final home that I dream of and I want. That is a stretch. I want to be realistic, and I want to be able to see what my house will sell for when it's exposed to the market, and then be able to make a really good, solid financial, I'm going to say almost always a financial decision when I'm making this downsize, to go into the right place that is comfortable physically, that is comfortable emotionally, and most importantly, financially, that I am not squeamish or stressed out in the final move, that I am happy, that I put more money in the bank, or I've got more money to travel, and I don't have to alter my plans or ever move again. And I say that, and I'm going to say that one more time, you don't want to move again. You don't want to buy something and really stretch yourself or put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and find yourself in a couple of years in exactly the same spot where you bought too much house, or you spent too much money, or now you've got a house that needs a whole pile of maintenance and you weren't thinking about it properly because you were rushing to make a decision or you fell in love with something. So back to the plan. We are going to have a really clear, conservative plan on where we want to go, what we're going to get, and what the next step looks like in our vision. Now we're going to talk about the hard costs that are involved. So once you've figured out what your home is worth and you've made your list, you want to be able to have a budget line here where you think about the costs that are involved. So whether it is taking care of a leaky sink or a faucet, or doing small home improvements. And some of you watching this, you don't want to do any home improvements, and that is okay too. And it goes back to the valuation of your home. So there are such things as homes that are sold as is, where is, and you don't have to do a thing. And there are some other things that perhaps your realtor can help take care of to make sure that your home is ready for the market. Regardless of which way you're leaning, you want to make sure that you consider the budget and the hard costs. So I'm going to tell you, you've got to consider the commissions when you're selling your home. That is something that you want to have certainty on. So if you're interviewing realtors, what is included in the commissions? And in Toronto, they vary. There is such a huge array of services that agents may or may not offer. On our team, our services are very much catered to seniors and leaning in to support you. And I can tell you that a lot of our competitors don't even have the services that we offer, and for us, they're just a gold standard. So understanding what is involved in those commissions, and understanding that commission is only payable upon a successful sale of your home, meaning once the home closes, the commissions will come out and be paid to the agent. So you are not upfronting any costs. So you don't have to make consideration for having cash on hand unless it's tackling some repairs or dealing with something that needs to be done ahead of time, like moving costs or decluttering. Some of you may choose to stay in your home and you will not be moving until the home is successfully sold, and others of you may decide, I'm not up for this, I don't want to be here while showings are taking place, I'm going to stay with my kids, or I'm going to stay at a hotel or at an Airbnb until the showings pass and my home is sold successfully. So you've got to have a budget to figure out which bucket that you're sitting in, and I'm going to say to you, no matter which scenario you decide to lean into, the one thing that you should plan for is supportive services if your realtor is not offering them to help with moving and packing. I know a lot of you are thinking your kids are going to help you, they're adult, their kids are going to help you, your grandkids are all going to come in and they're going to help you move. Do not plan on that. I've seen that intention made in many a family, and I also see it fall apart where kids get busy and they leave their parents stranded or they leave their loved ones stranded. So I'm going to say, have a clear plan that is your own, or find professionals that can work for you to make sure that it runs smooth and seamlessly. You don't need the stress of something happened to your relatives or to your son. True story, a couple weeks ago, somebody's kid had an appendicitis, adult son in his 50s, and got an infection, and he was supposed to go help his mother, who's elderly, make her move. And I had been saying to her all along, let's get a plan B, they might get busy, something might come up, and she failed to lean into my suggestion, and unfortunately, we had to make a recommendation very last minute to help her move. Everything's okay, everything worked out in the end, but I would say to you, you're not 30 years old, I'm not 30 years old anymore. We're not calling a bunch of friends, sharing a pizza and a pack of beer or some drinks and helping our friends move us. We want to do this professionally. We want to make sure that our valuables are moved with care, and they can only really be moved with care when you have professionals who are experienced at doing it. And the other thing I'm going to say to you is you might decide to make an investment in some staging. You might get advice that staging is something that's required. That's another video all completely on its own, but I'm going to tell you a lot of really professional realtors who have a phenomenal array of services like us will offer staging services as part of their services. Will it be free? Again, that's another video for our team. It is free until your home is sold, so I'll leave that there. But I'm going to say to you, make sure that you have a full understanding of what you are upfronting on costs. As part of some of the costs of getting ready to sell your home, you might be facing a storage pod or a storage solution. Sometimes people will defer the task of decluttering or reorganizing their home until much closer to their move. And as someone who does this, like I say, very often, I don't like that. I like to be able to get a lot of the hard work done at the beginning so that we can move with ease and with certainty. There is nothing worse than seeing a client take their 2,500 square foot home, get to their condo with all of the stuff that they thought would fit, only to have to redirect the movers and pay them extra to take it to donation centers last minute, or the dump, or simply be told that their contents has to be stored on the truck, and it is very expensive when that happens. So when you don't have room for it in your new place, you're going to pay through the nose to actually store it, and it's just not pleasant. You're going to feel stressed and rushed there. So I would say it's so important to have a good decluttering plan well in advance, and to go through your items carefully and to decide what you're using, what you've got space for in your new home. And I would say a floor plan, if you're making a move to a new home, get a floor plan done, because then it allows you to actually see the room dimensions, what rooms you have to work with, and then you can go through your home and start to make decisions to purge, to give away to your children, to give away to charities. And some charitable centers that actually will accept your donations will give you some really great tax receipts, and you know your items are actually going to good use to families in need. There are amazing resources out there, and if you want to know a little bit more about that, you can certainly send me a private message or give me a call or an email. We'll post all my details down below so you can feel free and comfortable to reach out to me. But I'm going to say, don't leave that stuff for the end. You want to do that at the beginning, not in the middle and not at the end, to ensure that you're successful. We're not in our 30s anymore, and if you are watching this and you're in your 30s and your parents are the ones that are moving, I'm going to tell you it's quite unlikely that your friends are going to come over and start to pack up your parents' furniture professionally or with care or like a professional moving company would do. You're going to want to find some amazing movers, and I have to tell you, every time we have moved, we have had amazing movers, and every time my clients have asked me for a recommendation, I've shared those same amazing movers so that they could move with with ease, knowing their valuables are protected, and knowing that this is smooth and that the movers get to the destination when they're supposed to and follow your instructions and help move you into your rooms. And even sometimes, I would say, for a little bit of extra, you can hire a company that will unpack you. Who would not want their clothing to be hung back up into their closet? And if you do a lot of good work in the front end, organizing things, everything can actually go and land where it's supposed to do and make your life a whole lot easier when you're unpacking and settling into your new home. If you have come this far, my wish is that you are not feeling overwhelmed, that you've found this video useful. If you would love to comment, I would love to hear from you, and leave some tips for people on things that have worked for you successfully in the past. Or if you have a mover that you really love in the city of Toronto, comment below so that they can do their own research and figure out if it's good for them. Now, the other thing I'm going to say to you, you might be watching this and go, I need some more information on this segment that she covered, and I didn't go into depth in it. This can only be so long, guys. Please do not hesitate to reach out. There's going to be a manual down below, a guide for downsizing. My contact details will be there as well. And if you think you would benefit from a one-on-one with me or time with me, giving you advice, whether it's by Zoom or in person at your home, I would be more than happy to help you. We cover the GTA. We're specifically in Don Mills, but we do go north, we do go south to the lake, and we do go east. Less so west, but we cover most of the GTA. So again, if you need personalized care, dedicated attention, or you need help writing that plan and you do not know where to start, please just reach out. It's probably the best way to get a helping hand at the beginning to really help you get your process going. So thank you very much. If you haven't already liked this video or followed us, you want to subscribe to this video and this channel so that you can see more videos about downsizing that are going to be helpful. And I promise you, even if some of this doesn't relate to you, it might relate to a friend of yours, a loved one, a parent. Please do share this with other people so that we can get the word out there and help people move and transition with ease, with dignity, and with a lot of support. Thanks for watching.